afternoon, and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 21 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss progress and best practices with customer experience programs and strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Janet Pence, Director of CBP Experience, Office of the Commissioner, U.S. Customs and Border Protection; Barbara Morton, Deputy Chief Veteran Experience Officer, Department of Veterans Affairs; Courtney Kai Decker, Chief Taxpayer Experience Officer at the IRS; Brian Pancia, Senior Solutions Client Partner, Digital Experience Public Sector at Verizon; Victoria Calvert, Senior Manager, Federal Civilian at Cloudflare. We are talking about customer experience, and I look at these three agencies and I think about departments in some cases, and I see hundreds of millions of folks that are using these goods and services, and thank you for that. We're going to start with you, Janet, over at CBP. I know there's a lot of activity going on over there. I'm just delighted every time I go through the airport experience now. I can't even believe I'm saying that. The touchless is awesome. Give us a state of the state as to how things are going with your efforts there.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Yes, at Customs and Border Protection, we are laser focused on both the traveler experience as well as processing international trade. Fun fact about CBP, we are the second largest revenue collector in the federal government, second only to our partner agency, the IRS. But turning to traveler experience, we've been laser focused on streamlining our traveler experience for passengers, especially in light of the recent FIFA World Cup games here, and also with an eye toward the 28 Olympics. So we know this is a very busy time for our international travelers. In fact, we get over 1 million travelers coming through our ports every single day. And in that vein, our recent initiatives include developing better information about our requirements for entry into the United States. We launched in conjunction with FIFA a talking eagle named Compass, and international travelers were able to interact with this talking widget who spoke 21 different languages. So the experience was that you could either talk to this very charming eagle or you could just type questions to him. And much to our surprise, we found out that over 95% of people truly enjoy speaking with a AI powered widget who will actually provide you the information verbally. We had no idea that the touch point was going to be that high from a spoken perspective. Now, from a customer experience perspective, the value we added to the development of this widget was that we did usability testing on it. And what usability testing is you get a sample of your audience and you have them try on an application before it goes live. And lo and behold, when we tried on this eagle, we found some confusion on the part of users. And we were able to clear up that confusion in terms of what the buttons meant to get them to talk, for example. And by doing that, we were able to make some corrections before he launched, which saved time and money on the back end because we weren't fixing problems post-deployment. And then some other changes we're making. We also know that more and more people are using AI to get information about different government services. So we're looking at our websites the way that AI would look at, how is that AI going to be consuming information off of our websites? So it's really transformed the way that we are supplying information to the public as they adjust the way they behave.
Excellent. Sort of staying in front of that. And I love that A/B testing going on there to enhance that experience in regards to the customer, we'll call it. Barbara, we're going to go to you. So many things going on at Veterans. I heard about the campaign 250, I believe, or Freedom 250, right? And then you have this this V signal activity going on, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of innovative stuff as you all sort of laid the groundwork. You're at the vanguard of a lot of this activity, and now you're sort of taking it to the next level, just like CBP is. Tell us about the state of the state, if you will.
Yeah, I will. And again, thanks so much for having me, and agree with my good friend Janet that the experience in travel is fantastic. Global Entry, I got to give a plug for that. It's
Oh,
incredible.
it's amazing.
It's
Love it.
amazing. So yeah, so we, as you mentioned, we've been at this at VA for about 10 years. We had our 10-year anniversary about last year, and so we continue to sort of charge forward with our new team. Our new secretary has a wonderful goal, and that is veterans first and always. And so we
Mhm.
certainly are believers in that, and we continue to mature our programs. You mentioned V signals, our surveys, and other kind of feedback channels that are super important for us to collect and understand what our customers are experiencing, veterans, families, caregivers, and survivors. The one thing that I think is unique and a little bit different is that our leadership is very interested in making sure that we meet our customers where they are on different platforms. So social media monitoring has been a new capability that we've been really maturing in the last year. And so there are lots of opportunities, I think, for us to understand what is the feedback coming in from that channel, from our contact center channel, from our survey channel. So really having a mosaic of all these different types of feedback, so we can sort of create a holistic picture to take action and make improvements as needed.
Fantastic, Courtney. I know there's a lot of activity going on over at IRS, and I have to say, as a personal, experience, when I get onto the IRS and unfortunately pay my taxes, it is a pleasant experience. I don't like it, but it's fantastic. It really has. You all have really upped your game there as far as that's concerned. And I know, as Barbara has pointed out, big effort over there to do this omni-channel and meet the customer or the business where they are. So tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, I have Janet stealing my thunder. Say, we are the largest revenue collector in the federal government. And, I think recognizing that extreme privilege that we have to serve, so much of the American public. You're right. We are focused intently on figuring out how we can make the experience better for everyone. And like Barbara said, our focus is also on, digital first, but not digital only. Because if you have a tax problem, um, it's likely to be complex. And, so we want to make sure that we have as many digital options as are possible. But if you get stuck in our gears and you need a human, we need to make sure that that is available as well. I like to talk about, we have over 160 million tax returns filed every year. And I mean, that's a lot of tax returns. And a lot of them are not simple. Most of them are not simple. I mean, if you've seen one tax return, you've seen one tax return. That being said, 80% of our taxpayers, now this is the back of the envelope number, our 80-20 rule of thumb, 80% of taxpayers do what they need to do. They file electronically, they get their refund electronically in 21 days or less typically, or they pay timely, and then they don't think about us again until next year. And we've found that that's the experience that most taxpayers want. Now, 20% of our taxpayers get, stuck in our gears somehow. They might get a notice from us, or they remember that they didn't include a W-2 on their return or a 1099 or something after they've already filed, and they need to do something after the filing season. Now, when you think about that 80-20, from year to year, you could be in the 80% one year or the 20% and 20% the next year, just because of changes in your financial circumstances, changes in the law, whatever. So we are working very hard to understand the experience of those folks who fall out into the 20%, while at the same time making sure that we don't do anything that hurts the experience for the 80%, and in fact try to enhance it where we can. So a big example of where we're doing this work is in our Simple Notices project. That project started a few years ago, but we've really accelerated some of the additions to our online accounts. So we have the most, I like to say the most popular notices, but they're really the most frequently sent notices, because I don't know if the receiver of those notices really thinks that they're popular, ITs. But those notices are in our online accounts. So when those things hit the mail, they also are in your online account. And by the way, you can now opt in our online accounts to get your notices digitally. And I know that for a lot of people, I have informed delivery with USPS. And I love to know what I'm getting in the mail. And I
Right.
often, if I have an online option, I will quickly go on and see what that mail might be in my online account. Now you can opt in to either get those notices without getting them in the USPS, or you can get them in the USPS but still see them in your online account immediately, which I think gives people a lot of relief to be able to know what's going on with their account, and they can solve a lot of things in their accounts as well.
Sure. Sure.
The big move on that in that space is we've also added business notices. We had about 4 at the beginning of this year, and now we're up to 160. So we're progressing as quickly as we can to make sure that taxpayers have the information they need at their fingertips when they need it in those online accounts.
It's straightforward, you log on with ID Me, boom, there's your this year, there's last year, there's the year before. It's fantastic. It's a great experience. So hats off to everybody in your team for all they're doing. Brian, we can't do this unless we connect together and connect all these systems together. And you all are doing a fantastic job with that. Not only just basic connectivity, but call centers, security, et cetera. Give us a sort of a state from where you all stand as everyone is on this customer experience journey.
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me. And I also want to take the time to thank Barbara. As a veteran myself, I appreciate your guys' Veteran First initiative that you guys have going on. It truly means a lot. So at Verizon, we're going through this massive philosophical shift on the way we do business. We're moving away from that network first mentality. And I know you just mentioned our network and how we're strong, but we're moving away from that network first mentality to a customer obsessed culture, much like you guys are talking about on the phone, on the call today. That customer obsessed culture is really changing the way we do business. We want to set out to be the most trusted customer obsessed company in the country, and we've got new leadership that is helping us get there. We want everything that we do with our customers, not only our internal customers, because Verizon provides products to everyone that's out there, but we also have the federal government that we work with. So we want everything to be simple, clear, and delightful. We're getting away from these complex processes and these playbooks that we used before, because all that was doing was frustrating our customers, and we weren't getting anywhere real fast with that. So we're trying to streamline things, keep it simple, keep it clear, and keep it delightful. And a few ways that we're doing that: first, we're taking the time to listen to our customers and design second. We're moving away from that brand-led company, as you mentioned, that network. We've got that strong network, moving away from that brand-led company to a customer-led company. And in order to do that, we've got to listen to our customers. One of the things that we've put in place to help with that, we've put advisory teams in place that are really getting down into the weeds with our customers, listening to what their pain points are, what their frustrations are, and we're collaborating together to come up with the right solutions for them. This is allowing us to find better solutions, and we're providing better, stronger outcomes a lot quicker, and it's essentially improving that customer experience. Second, as everybody mentioned, AI, everybody's talking about AI. We're aggressively deploying an AI first customer service model. One of the things that I want to kind of caveat with the AI model is that human in the loop is extremely important. So I think Courtney alluded to kind of that human interaction. AI does a lot of great things. So what we're doing at Verizon, we're creating a co-pilot ecosystem where humans and AI are working together. Let AI take those millions of customer interactions, those transactions, those records, analyze it really quickly within seconds, provide that information back to the agents so they could focus on empathy, those high friction calls that are coming in and those complex calls and solve them with a deeper understanding. We want to get away from that agent simply reading scripts on the screen and being more empathetic and deep solving with our customers. Because in the end, that's going to provide a better customer experience. And finally, we're looking at standardizing on our partner ecosystem. So we've got partners across the customer experience spectrum, all the way from large companies that are leaders in the space, down to small companies, because some of the things, especially within the federal government, they want to give that business to those small businesses, those socioeconomic businesses. But a lot of times with these complex customer experience initiatives, those small companies can't tackle everything on their own. So they're looking for the bigger companies like Verizon to come in and help them out. So we're building that ecosystem out and standardizing on it. We don't want tons of partners out there that do everything. We want to laser focus on that partner ecosystem. So that way, when we work with our federal customers out there, we really understand what they're looking for, what their needs are, and we can put the right teams in place to do that. And the idea is that we work with as little friction as possible, so that seamless experience. I don't want our customers to see for what color your badge is. I guess in the federal space, you got the different color badges.
Laser focus on the customer is the mantra, and we really do appreciate that. Brian, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing over there. Victoria, a lot of, hundreds of millions of customers, citizens of all stripes out there. Very sophisticated environment, has to be trusted. The confidence level has to be there. It has to stay high. Insert Cloudflare.
Yeah, so the progress that we're seeing right now is really that shift toward an all-in-one modern cloud platform that's bringing that commercial speed to the government. So, because at the end of the day, customer experience for us is about building trust, speed, and reliability into public services. And we're seeing that momentum really build in about 4 key areas that I'll touch on. First, it starts with the employee experience. So you can't deliver a seamless citizen experience if your internal teams are fighting archaic technology. So agencies are replacing that clunky legacy VPN with modern secure access. And when a government employee can instantly log in and do their job without a fight, that efficiency is then passed directly down to the citizen. Secondly, we're cleaning up that vendor clutter. So historically, agencies had to purchase dozens of different software tools from dozens of different companies because that's what was available to them, right? So we're helping them consolidate those tools into a single platform. So IT teams are spending less time troubleshooting that mismatched tech and more time innovating for the public.
Nice.
Third, agencies are realizing that website speed is customer service. So a digital form isn't truly accessible if it takes forever to load or it crashes during high traffic. Agencies are starting to treat citizens like a modern consumer who expect that fast, reliable digital experiences. And then fourth, we're bringing AI closer to the user. So again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AI, right? Instead of routing that AI request to some distant data center, we're running them physically closer to where that citizen actually lives. So that means someone filling out a complex, say, tax form, like she mentioned, gets that instant interactive guidance, or maybe it's a veteran with disability assistance with the zero lag. So while their data all stays securely within the US borders.
Love those 4 focus areas, and we really do appreciate you all hardening that environment, making it a great experience. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about customer experience. We have 3 powerhouse departments/agencies representing hundreds of millions of citizens. Going to talk about specific program. Barbara, I'm going to throw it over to you at VA. I know there's a lot of activity going on over there. You want to illuminate one for the listening audience?
I would love to illuminate one, but I may do two if that's okay. I'll keep it
Hey,
short. So,
we love two for the veterans, anything.
exactly. So the first one is one that, this journey we began back in 2017. It was sort of our initial proof of concept of how a federal agency can operationalize the philosophy of listening to what your customers want and then taking action to implement changes based on their feedback. And that's our patient experience program, which began in 2017. We've made so much progress at scale across 150 plus hospitals and different facilities across the nation. And really, to me, it's a testament of how one agency can actually implement what we hear into actions we take. And so the results of that program, which includes training, toolkits, action planning, data deep dives, listening sessions, all this suite of types of tools in the field, boots on the ground. The result has been record high patient experience trust scores for our outpatient experience. I think the latest was in 92, 93% trust. So really, really an incredible program that I'm very proud of.
That's
A
impressive.
new program that I'm also really, really proud of. It really has sort of taken storm in the last year or so. And that is really our outreach, our targeted outreach capability to make sure we can bring in more veterans who maybe are not affiliated with VA. So using the power of data and targeted outreach campaigns, working across the department led by our Office of Public Affairs and coordinating across the entire agency, we've been able to do targeted outreach and then see downstream the impacts of that outreach. So how many enrollments have happened, how many additional claims filings have happened. And the theory is if we know how to communicate well using customer communications, not corporate communications, and we can use data to target, we'll be able to bring more veterans to us.
Yeah, that Freedom 250 campaign has really gotten a huge outreach. I'm just delighted to hear about all these veterans that are coming into the ecosystem there. Brian, how about over at Verizon? You talked about a lot of different things that are going on there. You want to give a specific example where you've been able to unlock some of this capability?
Absolutely, and I'm a little cautious on this one because Courtney is on the line, but IRS is one of our biggest customers, and I want to focus on one piece of the puzzle that we're providing the IRS. Obviously, we're doing a lot of work over there, but we provided a voice callback solution for them, so you don't have to wait on hold, and it's had tremendous
I
results.
love voice callback. Every time I got an option to do that, I'm like, no, and now I use it all the time. It works great.
It's one of those simplest technologies, but it improves that customer experience drastically. So one of the things that the IRS looked at, everybody's scrutinizing their federal contracts and what they're spending on. So they wanted to look at the ROI on voice callback. They said ROI is king. We need to know what's going on. They looked at us as the provider and the industry leaders in these spaces. And if I looked at the industry reports going back to that leading, that brand led, I look at it and say, okay, when you offer callback, your call abandonment rates decrease. You're starting to save money. So that's where you're starting to see these increases in ROI. However, I wasn't satisfied with that industry standard answer. We wanted to go back to being customer obsessed. So what I did was I worked with our folks over at IRS, both on the IRS side and our internal Verizon folks, and said, let's get as much data as we possibly can on callback and how it's doing. We measured this across, I believe they got about 140 business units on using that callback solution. When we looked at overall IRS, that call abandonment rate based on the correlation between those hold times was linear, just like we thought in the industry standards, that when you offer that callback solution, those customers prefer it. But when we did a deeper dive, when we took the time to listen to our customers, listen to our customers, what we found was that was not always the case with every single business unit. Some of them were linear, but some of them, it didn't matter what those hold times were. Those customers preferred to wait on hold as opposed to getting that call back. So when you do a deeper dive on the data, we could give them the information they need to make those better ROI decisions and those investments where they need to be.
I love the theme of instrumentation and the sophistication around that. That is really using that data to continue to enhance and evolve these customer experiences. Janet, how about at CBP? So many different examples. I love them all, including the touchless experience. You want to highlight one for us?
Yeah, I want to foot stomp our very popular global entry program. In the last year, we've made some significant improvements to an already great program. For example, family units can now be a one and done. You got mom, dad, and 3 kids. You can do one submission instead of 5 to get your family through global entry. The second thing, in as short as 2 years ago, you used to have to walk up to a kiosk and scan your passport, have your picture taken. We migrated for, you don't have to scan the passport anymore, but we were still capturing your photo. Guess what? Now the kiosks are disappearing. We have we have this new technology that you can just keep walking. The camera picks up your photo as you walk on by. And then the officer is standing behind that camera and says, Janet, go straight on out to the exit, or Janet, go left and see an officer. Literally, there's people not breaking stride going through customs, not even stopping. And the delight on their face, they're like, wait, I'm done? That's what we're aiming for, delight, and we're getting it.
And I mean, and it happens in seconds, right? I mean, it's just a full gate walking right up to the camera and poof, they're off and running.
Exactly.
Fantastic. We really do appreciate that. And I know all of these traveling public does as well. Victoria, how about at Cloudflare? Specific example you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, so kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier with that progress towards agencies moving to that unified platform for both the employee experience and the citizen. We worked on a recent project with a major civilian agency that was facing sort of two challenges here. So, first, their public website kept crashing during peak enrollment periods, and their IT team was completely drowning trying to manage a patchwork of legacy on-prem hardware and cloud solutions. And then the citizens were also frustrated with their user experience, which caused them to abandon that slow online form load time and just start flooding their call centers. So to fix this, that agency moved their entire digital front door onto Cloudflare. A critical piece of that was our AI-powered bot detection. This instantly separated real citizens and legitimate AI research tools from those malicious traffic trying to crash the system. They ended up being able to see results immediately. So, for example, page load times dropped by up to 70%. Then, when the next enrollment wave hit, that site handled 5x the traffic spike without any issues. And then on the back end, the IT team went from juggling 4 different vendor dashboards down to just one. Another benefit that they experienced was that the customer experience team could then begin testing and launching new website improvements instantly without having to wait months for infrastructure changes. So really, I think the lesson here was pretty simple. Like even the best designed customer experience program will fail if that underlying technology is brittle. So then the true success happens when you treat security, speed, and the customer service as one single mission.
Got to be secure, but you have to be able to stack some weight on it and perform at
Absolutely.
peak time. So hats off to you all for cleaning that up.
Yes.
Courtney, how about over at the IRS? Lots of good programs to highlight. Give us one
But
that's a juicy one.
I can't even do one, Luke. And I want to piggyback on something that Victoria said, just because I think it's so important. You can't have experience without security. That's our Secretary
And the
Besson.
confidence, right? Have to have the
Absolutely.
confidence.
Trust and confidence in the system. And we have to earn that trust as agencies. As you know, we're a Bureau of the Treasury. Secretary Besson has outlined our priorities as, taxpayer services and experience, improving collections, and ensuring the security of our taxpayers' information. So we are intently focused on all of those aspects, and the collections, item is something that runs the gamut of, voluntary payments to, collections where, someone needs a payment plan, on and on. So the thing that is, I think, overarching all of the work that we've done to deliver services is marrying together the experience data that we get in from feedback from taxpayers that comes to us from many directions, surveys, and you name it, we get lots of feedback, to the operational data. And when you do that, it creates the aha moments that say, oh, if you look at this inventory that we have of, people who have got, some problem going on, and you can see what they're saying about it, you can see there's some challenge out there that we could solve by making the end-to-end digital process better for those folks. And I mean, I have such a long list of examples of where we've done that. A great place for our individual and soon business taxpayers is the ability to create online payment plans. And, and maybe that doesn't sound exciting or sexy, but if you're someone who's caught in that 20% and you're worried about how am I going to get my taxes paid, and you got other things going on, the ability to set up a payment plan digitally and kind of get yourself some relief, that's a really big deal. And so that is a really exciting improvement that we have coming down the pipeline. Another really big pain point is if you have to file an amended return. Remember I said, sometimes folks forget to include income from a W-2, 1099, whatever. They filed their return and they're like, oh, shoot, I forgot that. So then they file an amended return. You can file it electronically, but a lot of the processes behind the scenes required a human. They required somebody to print out that return and, do the work. Now we have many of the early steps have been either the super easy path has now been modified, and we've applied AI to analyze those first returns and get it to the human to make the final decision and send out. So we're significantly reducing the time to turn around those returns. And often, folks, they may owe a little bit more, they may be getting a refund, but they don't like to be in that limbo. So we used to say that everything was 12 to 16 weeks to process these returns. Now we're expecting that the easiest ones can be done within days. Now, an amended return, of course, that means something went wrong. So we have to take a little closer look than an original return. But it's really an exciting development that's going to impact millions of people.
Absolutely. Reducing that cycle time, reducing the stress, and they can do it on their, sort of their own timeline, right? They can do it in the middle of the night. They can do it on the weekends. It's fantastic that you've been able to digitize that. Let's talk about priorities. Janet, I know you've got a lot of them over there. We're halfway through the 2026 year. Sort of had a great experience with FIFA. It appears that way. What is sort of on the docket for the rest of 2026? Give us your top one or two priorities there.
Sure. Well, one thing we're laser focused on is measuring the impact of technology insertions. It's great to put in AI. It's great. It's great to come up with new techniques. What's the impact? What's the impact to the employee? What's the impact to the customer? What's the impact to the mission? And so we've developed a new framework designed to measure the impact, if you will, of technology changes. And we started with a standard operating procedure based on best practices that we found both in and outside the government. And then we took that standard operating procedure and we put an AI assistant behind it. And what the AI assistant does is it guides you through the collection of information of the metrics that you need to measure the changes in a process before and after you make a technology change. We are pilot testing this impact framework on some of our projects, and we hope to get a universal approach, not only within CBP, but hopefully across the department on how to measure technology changes. So that is something that I'm hearing across the federal community as, it's great to invest in technology, but you have to look at the so what. What do you get out of it? So
go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of buzz around the government and in industry underscoring. And we in customer experience field, we are very good storytellers. And that's what we need, those measures to tell the story on the impact of what we're doing, the impact on our American citizens, the so what, the benefits, the service delivery implications.
And we're hearing a lot about instrumentation on this panel discussion, right? And to be able to pull that data out so that you can answer that so what. So hats off to you all for doing that. Victoria, how about at Cloudflare? Number one priority for you this year?
Oh God, if I have to just put down one,
Number one, we're trying to get through as much content as we have. Top
all right,
priority.
so I'll do AI. I'll focus on that. So we're really focused on helping make AI safe and responsible. So we're deploying a digital traffic controller for our AI workloads. So this helps agencies see what AI tools are being used, control those costs, and stop sensitive government data from leaking out. Additionally, we're helping defend against that AI-powered cyber attacks. So hackers are using AI to attack at machine speed, so we're using machine learning to instantly spot and block malicious threats before they ever touch the agency's server. Is
Love
that
it.
quick enough for you?
Absolutely. AI hand-to-hand combat.
That's right.
Barbara, number one priority for you at the VA for the rest of 2026.
Yeah, I think for us in the Veterans Experience Office, it's deepening our analytics capabilities. So not only understanding the what is the smoke signal that's going on in terms of experience,
Mhm.
but the why underneath it. And as I mentioned earlier, that is going to be, pulling data together from all of our different channels, including social media, surveys, et cetera, to really pinpoint even with more specificity the why things are happening in a certain way so we can take action.
Love it. Brian, top priority for Verizon 2026.
Top priority. Well, I had a list of 42, but you said in the essence of time, we got to keep it short. So
Roger
I'm going
that.
to lead with our priority that everybody has said on this call: be customer obsessed. Customers first. We're talking about customer experience. Our top priority has to be our customer. We want that experience to be simple, personalized, and delightful. And we want that to be consistent across all channels that those customers are coming across. So number one priority, lead with that customer obsession in mind.
Absolutely. Courtney, a lot of good stuff going on at IRS. You highlighted it plenty. Number one priority for the rest of 2026 in your department.
Well, I feel like Brian kind of stole my answer. How our focus is intently on the customer.
Right on.
And we know where they have pain points, and overall that is that they get partway through a digital transaction, and there's some bump in the road. So making sure that we're able to identify those as quickly as possible and make fixes if necessary or enhancements. That's our ultimate big picture goal, is how do we keep driving these digital tools so that people can get in the front door and have tools that are intuitive, simple, secure, and get their jobs done, while at the same time making sure that the bad guys who are out there who are trying to steal information from our good taxpayers don't get in the door.
Right. And I love the fact, again, all this instrumentation that's going on. So you see that happening versus them calling back in complaining about an experience that they had. I think that's fantastic. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about customer experience, specifically one of my favorite questions, and that is lessons learned, right? And we have the vanguard, we have the folks that are leading the pack here for the federal service, and I'm delighted to be able to ask this question. Barbara, let me start with you at VA. You all have been on an absolute journey over there, but there are lessons learned that I think it's important for the rest of the community who's following in your footsteps, so to speak, to understand. So have at it. Top one or two lessons learned.
So I think at sort of a macro level, I mean, I think about reflect on the last 10 years, lots of changes over time in the federal government and out in the world as
Lots of
well.
technology changes.
Technology needs change, right? And I think different sort of priorities or initiatives change, but I think at the end of the day, for those of us in the customer experience space, the customer at the center is always the constant. And so to me, that's a huge lesson learned, no matter, what new teams come in or, different changes out, in sort of the world. Focusing on those that we serve is such a higher calling, and that is the bridge to me across time and space. And so I think that's a huge lesson learned for me that, for us at VA, veterans first, veteran at the center, that is a constant. And that's something I think that brings and bridges everybody together over space and time, as I said.
Amen to those veterans. And Brian, we're laying you up here because we know that's what you're all about. So from your perspective, number one lesson learned.
Sure. So customer experience transformation is 90% strategy and methodology and only 10% technology. I'm not going to focus on the technology piece, but on the methodology, I think it's important to listen to your frontline staff. They're the boots on the ground. They know what works well and they know what doesn't. And when it comes to that frontline staff, get that buy-in on AI early. There's a lot of fear that AI is going to replace their jobs. Show them how AI is going to help enhance and allow them to do a better job and be that co-pilot partner with them instead of a replacement for what they're doing.
Absolutely. Courtney, IRS, a lot of activity going on there. Some of it worked great. Maybe there's some lessons learned. Let's hear one.
I think the biggest lesson that we've learned as an agency in experience is truly that customer experience and employee experience are inextricably intertwined. A number of our initiatives, our taxpayers can immediately see that they're making a difference, even though they're behind the scenes. So when we began a taxpayer 360 project that helps our customer service representatives, the folks on the phone, help get information to our taxpayers when they're looking for their accounts more quickly. That effort is in its first phase, but folks calling can already start to feel the way we can accelerate the training of our folks to make sure that they can get the right answers. So making sure that we're always supporting our employees. When we look at our survey data, our highest rankings across the board on our surveys is when people talk to our humans. They care so deeply about our taxpayers and helping them get the right answer. That's something that I think we're very focused on not losing that culture and benefit as we move through, the more digital future.
I love that that connectivity between the employee experience, right? If I'm calling into a call center and this person's trying to help me and they've got 5 screens they've got to navigate through, that's not probably going to lend itself to a nice experience for me. So hats off to that Stitch, and I'm glad to hear that. Interesting stat, by the way. Victoria.
Yes.
Cloudflare, let's talk about lessons learned.
Yeah, so I think, this is very applicable to what we've been talking about with a lot of information of our citizens that might be stored in a lot of these agencies on this panel, right? So I'm going to start with a big lesson learned on everything starting with identity. So agencies making the fastest progress invested heavily in that strong identity management first. So if you don't know exactly who your users are, whether that's the internal employee or a citizen logging in, you can't deliver a secure experience. And those who kind of skip that step, they end up having to go back and rebuild. And then, culture beats tools. So you can buy the best security tools on the planet, but true success happens when you build automated security checks right into your development pipeline. So speed and security are working together. And lastly, I'll just say, website speed is a trust signal. So citizens judge the competence of a institution by how fast its website loads. So slow crashing sites actively erode public trust and then affects that customer experience. So.
And it's just a complete buzzkill, right? To
Yes,
have that kind of experience and just lowers your confidence
absolutely.
completely. All right, Janet, I know there's a lot of lessons learned, and you've incorporated some of those, like with your A/B testing that you described, et cetera. Give us an example of a lesson learned, if you will, that you want to make sure this community understands so that that they don't have to go through that situation as you all have done some of this at large scale, right?
Yeah, I want to foot stomp what Kay said about that good customer experience starts with good employee experience. Hands down, you have to look internally first, and then you can better serve your customers. And secondly, customer experience is a team sport, and this community is a great example of the great work that's out there. And I don't have to invent everything myself. For example, the Social Security Administration right now is coming up with a service index, which is cataloging all of their services in a way that's going to improve the way technology is supporting those services and delivering them. So we can reach out and learn from each other and use forums like ACT-IAC has a wonderful community of interest, for example, around service delivery. So I've found it very powerful. DHS, for example, is doing a contact center modernization sprint. Well, that's been done before, so we should take best practices and apply them throughout the government so that we can make the biggest impact possible.
Fantastic, and we really do appreciate all the work going on there. All right, we're going to have to wrap it up. We always like to ask this last question and fast forward only 2 to 3 years. We can't do 5. It's just impossible to think that far ahead with all the tectonic shift in technology and everything else. Victoria, we're going to start with you at Cloudflare. I know you all have some technology in the petri dish for sure that at some point is going to be out front and center. So what's the environment? What does the ecosystem look like, let's say in 2029?
Yeah, so when I look forward, I'm kind of seeing that shift moving away from patching broken legacy technology and entering into that future where technology works quietly in the background. So first, like digital tools being consolidated, I kind of touched on this earlier. The idea of using separate software for security, speed, and websites will feel completely outdated, where moving everything onto a single unified platform saves so much time and taxpayer money that will simply become the new standard. Second, advanced security will become invisible. Cybersecurity won't feel like a frustrating chore. It'll be built in digital service. So government workers will log in once, get right to work, while citizens will access services without jumping through security hoops because identity verification will happen securely all in the background. Third, we'll see lightning fast AI assistants built right next to the user. So imagine a veteran accessing a health portal and having an intelligent assistant guide them to the exact form they need based on a simple conversation with zero lag. Fourth, security systems will defend themselves automatically. So cyber attacks move too fast for humans to write rules manually. So I think the future belongs to those self-defending systems that detect a new threat and then block it instantly in milliseconds. And then finally,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh yeah, sorry. So finally, we'll start measuring success by human outcomes. So it won't just be about uptimes. We'll stop talking about how a website didn't crash, and instead the focus will be a citizen successfully completed their application in under 3 minutes and on their first try. So I think that's a true win-win between both government leaders and the public.
Boy, I'll tell you, I think we all look forward to seeing that. Brian, how about at Verizon? Can we expect with the enhancement of these technologies, 6G, whatever it is, can just unlock this customer experience? What can we expect?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say
We're moving away
2020.
from that traditional telecommunications carrier to being a world-class technology integrator. So
Right.
I'm going to give you 3 things that we're working on right now. We're working on AI Connect, which is a specialized portfolio of products and services that focus on that AI boom. AI is top of our priorities. There's a huge focus that's on there. So we've got this AI Connect platform and portfolio that we're building out. Second, we're investing heavily on IoT evolution and 6G. So we're laying the foundations for that today. I'm sure you've seen in the news some of the acquisitions that we've made with different companies. And then third, we're modernizing security. So we've always put security front and center, but we're continuing to modernize on the security that we provide today. And one of the things that I'm excited about that we're starting near term is we're putting together a 6-part learning series for our federal customers. We're going to take this roadshow out to them, so it's individualized for their needs, focusing on voice security. So going over spoofing, robocaller mitigation, voice biometrics, really educating them and sharing with them what's going on from industry trends in voice security, and understanding where their pain points are and where we could utilize some of these things that we're learning to help them out and further reinforce the security that they're doing. So those are the 3 core growth places that we have.
Sounds exciting. We're looking forward to it. Courtney, IRS 2029, what's the roadmap look like? What's that, I know you all are driving towards the digitizing everything, et cetera. You've sort of hinted at some of the things that are underway, but as a citizen, as a small business owner, what can one expect to see and experience in 2029 with the IRS?
Well, I think, just everything coming down the pipeline is focused on how do we help people be one and done, or if they are in our 20%, that they have the tools that they need to solve their problems digitally, if they are able and so desire, but also having those off ramps for folks who need deeper assistance, because we all know that taxes are complicated. If you've seen one, you've seen one. So we're very focused on our online accounts and constantly adding feature after feature, and many of those features are going to be not very easy for a taxpayer to identify and point out. They'll just know that it is, wow, that's more intuitive, or I can click that button and upload the document that I need to send to the IRS and get my problem solved and in the pipeline, and it's not going to be a long time for that to be resolved. So there are a lot of things that might seem incremental that are happening in the background, but they're stacking up. Being more focused on mobile. We know that the vast majority of Americans conduct lots and lots of financial transactions with this little thing here. So how do we make sure that they can do their tax matters with that device if they so desire? So lots and lots of exciting things that are coming down the pipeline from that perspective, but it's all focused on understanding the taxpayer's journey and making sure that along every step of the way, they have a way that is intuitive, simple, and secure that can help them execute on the thing that they need to accomplish.
Really do appreciate all the great work that you all are doing over there. Barbara, if I'm a freshly minted veteran, coming off the battlefield in 2029, or I'm a veteran that's been, a veteran for maybe decades, but just hasn't used the VA, what does that experience look like in 2029 versus 2026, let's say?
I would say that the experience will continue to be as seamless and delightful if we can as possible. We know that there are so many opportunities, particularly with veterans who have not engaged with us, which is why we want to bring them in to be able to sort of prove ourselves and earn their trust. So future state, I see trust continuing to climb. We've reached record high of 81%, 82% in the last year, up from 55% in 2015, 2016 when we first started measuring. So I see trust continuing to climb, and we do that by exactly what we've been talking about, institutionalizing even more deeply, translating what we hear into actions we take. The other thing I will say too, from a KPI perspective, from a performance measurement perspective, I think in government, we typically measure outputs. And I think that the shift to measuring outcomes and impacts, particularly from the experience lens, is what I would love to see in the future.
Fantastic, and I really appreciate that on behalf of all the veterans. Certainly appreciate all that, everything that you're doing and that you're going to be doing. Janet, 2029. I know TSA has this challenge where they want to have a 10-minute experience, I think it is, from the curb to the counter, if you will. And I know that you all are really just driving that experience up and the time to get through the process. And that's just the traveling public, right? We're not even talking about the brokers and the trading community, trucking community. 2029 comes around. What can we expect out of CBP in regard to your entire ecosystem?
So I think the government is trying to move toward more of a whole of government approach rather than an agency centric approach. So, for example, in the area of traveler experience, I see a lot more synergy between TSA and CBP. You should be able to apply for these programs once and be done. And in international trade, we're partnering with the Department of Transportation. We're really laser focused on that supply chain, speeding up the supply chain through the use of international standards, and also getting verified credentials so that for sure that that coffee you're buying from Guatemala really came from Luke's Coffee Company and not some knockoff. So we're working really hard on, just like we verify that Janet Pence is who she appears to be based on her passport, we're looking at verifying that lipstick or that coffee is where it came from, that it's safe for Americans to use, and that it's meeting all the standards. It's not unfairly competing against an American-made product, for example. So that's my hope, is that more whole of government to make processing more efficient.
Really do appreciate that. And I just want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on the show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.